I'm Camille, and I have the very pleasure of speaking to Mr. Aaron Thomas, the writer, the actor, the producer, the director, the promoter of Dumas. Welcome.
Hello.
Aaron, or AKA Dumas. Who are we? Who's sitting before me?
Well, I've got Dumas' clothes on, so this is his outfit in most of the films. So
You're giving us a piece of Dumas.
Yeah.
I mean, what I'd like to know is what is Dumas? That's a name I've never ever heard before. Does it mean something? Does it represent something? Tell me about Dumas.
The name itself is crazy. It derives from Star Trek. It was one of the Cardassians, I think. It was one of these alien, and he was a lieutenant. He was like the second in command. And I always loved the name, but it was his mannerism. He always carried himself very well. He was a great leader, and he always wanted to exceed his manager, his boss. So I always loved the name, and it kind of fitted in with what I wanted to do.
Okay, I like that. I mean, I must say, you look very good on screen.
Oh wow, thank you.
Aaron, so I want to say, is that one of your strengths or one of your favourite elements to filmmaking?
Me looking good on screen. I wouldn't say it's a strength, but it because I have different throughout the film. I'm looking quite different. Sometimes I'm looking out, and another time I look all messed up. So
yes, you do.
Yeah, I look really mash. So it works, and I try different looks. Like today, you can see I'm trying a new moustache type of thing. So it's just trying different things on and trying to get into that place as an actor.
I mean, for me, I've got listed down actor, writer, head of casting, director, and fruit juice. Is that you, the editing? No, because I was looking through the credits and there are all these different variations of fruit districts, fruit juice.
What it is.
What don't you do?
Can I be honest with you? Right? What it is, when you're making film and you're not able to pay a certain salary, some things you have to do yourself. Because what you've got to remember is when I first started this, I wasn't directing. Actually, I didn't have a director, and I learned a lot from her, and she taught me things about directing I didn't know that I could do. So I kind of fell into the role because she went on to another project. So I was forced into the role of directing. In terms of casting, I came naturally because I knew what I wanted when we were writing. So it's just a case where these hats you have to wear if you're wanting to, if you don't have that budget to pay other people. Some people will get on board for a certain amount of time to help you out and so forth, but the bottom end is that you have to do most of the work yourself. Catering, for example, when we were filming, I did catering. I picked up the equipment. I remember the first day of filming, I picked up the equipment. We started at 8, so I was up at 4. I went to bed at 2, because I was cooking from 12 till 2. Got up at 4, got the equipment down to Victoria. So I'm carrying the equipment in a suit, food, and so forth. Again, because there was no budget to catch a taxi all the way to Victoria. So when you're carrying all this stuff and you're doing all these things, it's things that you have to do because you do have good friends that will help you. But when a lot of your friends that have kids and so forth, not many of them are going to leave at 5 o'clock in the morning to pick you up and do what they're doing, so you just have to get on with it.
I mean, you've kind of gone into a realm that I did want to touch on, which is around budget and the whole process of how you even got to where you are, because I believe this has been a 7-year journey for you.
Yeah.
And I'm trying to think, how did you make it happen?
Belief, first and foremost, faith in the project, and at the inception of the project, you've got to remember it's just me. So when you're selling a project, people are like, okay, yeah, cool. But as time goes on, you have to really kind of recruit other people in terms of a DOP and so forth, in terms of a sound guy, and strengthen the team. So in terms of the money side of it, I worked my ass off, cleaning, warehouse, factory, office, here at WAC, as you know. So it's just really grafting. I borrowed a lot of money. I sold the only property I had, and I'm officially in so much debt. I didn't know it was possible to be in so much debt.
Okay, so for aspiring filmmakers,
I'm in debt. I'm in serious debt. My
but
phone's always ringing back.
have you enjoyed this
Being in
process?
debt?
Would you not being in debt, but going through this process? Because seriously, because
Yeah.
a part of it is about. When I've spoken to some other friends of mine about Dumas, and I say, no, this is a friend of mine who has made his own film. They're very much interested in how did he do this? Like, because on the one hand, it can seem quite a fearful journey to embark on if you don't have any Hollywood or ITV, Channel 4, Arts Council backing. For you to conceive this concept is quite amazing for people.
Well, look at it this way. You can either sit down and wait for funding, apply for a loan, or you can do all these external things. And I actually did that for a year and a half. Did the networking, I did the applications, I did the potential investors and going out for dinner, all that type of crap. And I did it for a year and a half, and I didn't get not one penny. A year and a half of convincing people to get on board, and it was draining. It was draining. It was tiring. It was stressful. And when I decided at this point that I wanted to fund my film, everything changed overnight. Everything seriously changed overnight.
So how did you keep yourself motivated through that? Because it sounds like there were quite a few ups and downs. So how did you keep yourself motivated throughout that process?
Wow. Faith, believing in the project that we've got. And do you know when you do something and you go too far to turn back? You with me? So I wrote a script where it was 130 pages. I passed out the script to WAC and so forth. But you've gone too far. And it may be a pride thing, maybe ego, whatever it is, but I've come too far to fail. You know, and I like to speak of things, because when you speak of things, you don't go back on what you're going to do in terms of what I'm going to do. You know, so it's just a case where just believing in what we've got.
So how did you keep, because obviously it's your baby, essentially. So I can appreciate...
Woo! Shit, sorry.
Let's go back.
Yeah, go on, don't worry. I could sue them for this, couldn't I?
If it's too hot and you burn yourself.
I didn't burn myself, but still wasn't on there properly.
Take a sip and then we'll go back.
Later, that's hot. Sorry, go on.
So you've kept yourself motivated.
Yeah.
So if this has been a 7-year process, how did you keep everyone else interested? How did you keep then some of the filmmakers, the actors?
That's the easy part. When you're working with gifted people, it's humbling for me to see somebody who's great at what they do leave work or take a day off work to come to rehearsals and spend 4 or 5 hours rehearsing. No pay, no expenses, just my faith and my belief that I can make a film. And that's all they're writing.
So again,
that's all they're writing.
I'm still, even though we're not necessarily going along how my questions were going, but so for instance, you've done some great casting. I mean, I've got down here, you've got people like Will Johnson, Judith Jacobs, Wayne Rowlands and Lee John. How did you get that collective together, and how did you entice them with no money and just faith to be involved in this project?
It's a bit more complex than that, but we did sign contracts and stuff like that. But you know, what you've got to understand, the script that we've got is not your traditional script. There's so many, as you know, there's so many different things going on in this script. So when people, and it's not to big up myself, but when people get a different type of script and a different story and a different vision from what they're getting on a conventional basis, like a lot of these actors, they get scripts all the time and they're getting a lot of the same stuff. So we gave them something that they didn't expect to see. Whether it transpired onto screens for the audience to decide, but what they read on paper, they loved what they read on paper. And we created a number of backstory trailers. This is going back before the funding, so before I started putting money into it, is that we created backstory trailers so people could understand the character a bit more. It gave us an opportunity to work with the actors and DOP and the chemistry in between, because the DOP and the actor is essential, that you have that makeup, that formula. Do you know what I mean? So it was easy to convince them what we're doing, because we had a good product, we had a good cast.
So if we go back to casting, I mean, can you talk me through a little bit your casting process? I'm still interested because there's some very strong characters on screen.
The cast, sorry, go on.
No, so I've referred to obviously Will Johnson, Judith Jacobs, but obviously
Gianluca Vialli.
But there's a whole range of different strong characters. So how, again, just because for you, not in a bad way that you're a nobody as such, but you're but you're a new filmmaker.
I'm unknown. I'm an unknown. I prefer that.
No, you're somebody.
Yeah.
But this is a new script being brought to people, so it's about how you enticed and got these strong characters together in that whole casting process. Or
the casting took 4 years. 4 years. Took 4 years, and I started off with Graham Benson, Simon Britton, Adrian Annis, and Jennifer Jane Hooker. And I met these people like about 4 or 5 years ago, and this is when the script was first written and so forth, and we started casting. I was meeting them at Costa Coffee, and Graham, who plays Monty, came for Thomas's role.
Okay.
And Simon, who plays
Monty's a very good role.
Yeah, and Simon Britton, who plays Thomas, came for Monty's role.
Okay.
So, and I met them on the same day, and I knew as soon as I looked in Graham's eyes, I knew he was Monty. You with me? And just talking to him, because I would regard him as a good friend now. Just talking to him as an actor in terms of his experiences and what he's doing and so forth. It was more about, for me at the time, it wasn't even about casting or auditions, because none of these people auditioned. The first people never auditioned. All of these people have great experience. If you look at their resume, great experience. So this guy who's never made a film, well, I have made a film, but an unknown film, then comes to you and says, listen, this is what I'm doing. It didn't take a great deal of convincing, simply because they're experienced and they know somebody who has a passion for something, But before we go to the next one. So the next process of auditioning was Beth. And my colleague, that took me 2 years.
Oh wow.
It took me 2 years. I went through so many different people, it just didn't work. But the person who smashed it was Jodie Perry. And the reason why I paused you there, because she's really, really instrumental in what we've achieved today. Not only she's a beautiful human being, she's a great actress, is the fact that I met her through another friend of mine, and I must have met her over a year, probably about 6 times, because I wasn't sure, just wasn't sure. And every time I met her, it's no joke, she would evolve. Seriously, every talk I had with her, she'd come along different, not as a person, but in terms of what she would bring to the character. And it was like, oh my God, this person, do you know when you literally see somebody change before you?
Yeah.
So for me, I was just like, oh my God, this is amazing. And what I then did, even then, after a whole year of meeting her, I still wasn't sure. And I had her in a room of maybe 10 other ladies, 12 other ladies auditioning for the same role. And I tell you something, I don't know whether because she had a year preparation, or she was just amazing. Okay. She was just like...
But see, all of this does lean actually quite comfortably to my next question in terms of having a British feel. I love some of the cinematography in this film. There's some beautiful filming that takes place, and something that kind of sprung to mind when I was watching your film is kind of with Lock, Stock and Two Smoking Barrels.
Cool.
As in, there's particular visuals which were very specific to that film, and there's particular scenes. That the hostage scene is quite dramatic. The Cuban scene in Camden, I quite like how that's stylized. Is it important to you to stamp your mark on British film? Are you even going down that road? Are you thinking?
Anthony, who's the DOP, Anthony Gerner, an award-winning DOP, he has these eyes. This is no joke, this is going to sound crazy, but he has these eyes that he sees. Everybody has their skill, but his skill is so great that when he's filming, I don't tell him what I want. This is no joke. I take him to a place on the day of filming. I says, I want that in there, I want this in there, I want that in there, and then you'd be these people doing this. And he'd be like, oh. He'd be like, oh, but this is not how I work. I'd be like, just do it, man, just do it. And he just does it. He does it every single time. It's just his eye, he's got an eye of an eagle, and he's just really, really, really good at what he does. And I've never ever used another DOP. And I've always said to him from day one, I said, listen, as long as it looks beautiful, I'm happy. You know, and we clash all the time because we have strong personalities, but he is a genius. He's a straight up genius, and I would refer him to anybody. His work ethic is great, he's a great DOP, and more than anything, his vision for seeing things is beautiful, and that's all I want. It's just something to look beautiful.
But it's quite interesting because it's quite a dark story, so
yeah.
To have it to be quite visual on the eye is quite impressive.
And just going back to what you said in regards to stamp my mark, there's certain things in there that you will notice throughout the film. Like, for example, I like this thing where you could have somebody sit in the chair and they'll leave the chair for about a minute, and I may leave 30 seconds of just an empty chair and something's going on in the background, and then they come into shot. So stuff like that where people are coming into shots and leaving that frame just to sit down there and meditate. Because you know, sometimes when you're watching a film, it may be too fast or too slow. You may need some time to really digest what you're watching, and that's that moment where you may have 30 seconds in the film. Or sometimes I just have music just playing out. I may have a scene.
I was going to say, is there a signature Fruit District look to a film? Because I suppose what I wanted to refer to is the likes of the Spike Lees and the Quentin Tarantinos and the Alfred Hitchcocks, who are very hands-on with their films. They have their own signature markings of how they create films. At the same time, sometimes they have cameo roles in their films. Is that something that you want to do? Is this the only film that you're going to appear in, or?
That's a big question. In terms of, I would say there's definitely something you will notice in terms of a formula. But again, you won't until you see the second and third film that I did. But in this first film, these things are quite distinctive. In terms of the cameo roles, when I first started this, I was an actor. The only reason I started doing this because I wanted to be an actor, and it was important for me to do a show reel, and that show reel became a feature film. This is my very first film, and because I was living in Tottenham.
What was your first film?
It's a film called Me All Over that will never see the light of day. It will never ever see the light of day because you proper see the boom in there, people walking by, do you know that one's there, and you'll never ever see it. But I learned a lot from it, and I had to go back to the drawing board. I went back to the drawing board and I came back and I decided to do another feature film. So I completely forgot what you said because I went off.
I was talking about different directors, producers in the past have left their own stamp.
Yeah, cameo. So I started off as an actor, but what happened was I went to a networking evening while I was looking for money for Dumas, and I met this brother, dressed up to the T, very well spoken, and I said to him, "What do you do?" No, he came up to me, he goes, "What do you do?" I said, "I'm an actor, I want to be a great actor," type of thing. And he looked at me, he says, "Why do you want to be an actor? No, why do you want to be an actor?" I says, and I didn't know. I honestly didn't know. I says, because I've always wanted to be an actor. And I changed the subject quite quickly. I said, "So what do you do then?" He goes, "I'm a businessman." And I says, "Why are you a businessman?" Just throwing it back on him. And he says, "Because I want to build trains, planes and automobiles." And I walked away thinking, oh shit, I've just met a brother who wants to build trains, planes and automobiles. And I went home thinking, not that I was dissatisfied with myself, but it made me reflect that why do I want to be an actor? And I didn't know. You with me? So in terms of, going back to original questions in terms of cameo, I started as an actor, but I've become something else. I've become, I would say, a producer. I've become a writer. I've become a director. I've become catering. Godfather, all that type of stuff. So those guys really were influential in regards to me loving film. Much later on, Spike Lee came along and completely changed the ball game in terms of what he was doing. And I think later on I learned that he directed the film. Because when you
She's Got to Have It, as in his first film, She's
No,
Got
it
to Have
wasn't-
It,
it
or
wasn't-
Do the Right Thing.
Just do the right thing. Just do the right thing. And then obviously the Mo Better Blues and blah 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 and so forth. So watching those films, and as time has gone on, watching everybody at some point or another has inspired me. But I would say in the early years of watching the black and white movies back in the day, as you know, when we were growing up, films were black and white.
I think we're from different eras.
Yeah, films were black and white. So just watching a lot of those black and white films and just loving film. In terms of actors, I would say Eddie Murphy.
Okay.
Eddie Murphy, all day long. You know, I watch these films a million times, and I watch a lot of horror films, and you know, just everybody I would say.
Okay, well, touching on horror,
Mm-hmm.
I'm obviously interested to know about the influences of this particular film, basically in terms of you're talking about bankers and fraud. I mean, in terms of it's such a coincidence in terms of what's happening in the world as we speak today. So obviously, even though this has been a long process for you,
Eddie Murphy, all day long. You know, I watch these films a million times, and I watch a lot of horror films, and you know, just everybody I would say.
Okay, well, touching on horror,
Mm-hmm.
I'm obviously interested to know about the influences of this particular film, basically in terms of you're talking about bankers and fraud. I mean, in terms of it's such a coincidence in terms of what's happening in the world as we speak today. So obviously, even though this has been a long process for you, was it a deliberate that there was about what was going on in society, or what was the story? Why this story?
Why finance? Because initially, when we going back probably about 6 years, because I had a co-writer in the early days, but we had our thing. If you want to go into that, I can tell you about that. But anyway, initially he talked about terrorism. I'm like, nah, mate. He goes, yeah, we can do this. I'm like, no, because the budget. Because I'm thinking about budget, you know, and he's just thinking about blowing up buildings and so forth. I was like, nah, that's not gonna work. So what about finance, banking? Because what it was, I was actually doing recruitment, banking and finance, and I was dealing with a lot of stockbrokers and analysts and stuff like that. So I was talking to these guys all the time, and their world always interests me in the terms of the amount of money they were making.
We had the crash in the 80s.
Yeah.
You know, so we've kind of been there before.
But I didn't know about any of these things until maybe in the last 10 years.
Mm-hmm.
You know, these things happen, but I wasn't aware of it because I wasn't aware of that world. You know what I mean? So it was more about looking at the banking world and understanding the banking world a bit more, and understanding my acquaintances a bit more in terms of what they were doing. And then as time is going and you're doing research, you're thinking, oh my God, this is some teething business. Everybody's teething. And this is not to say all bankers and stockbrokers are thieves, but there's a lot of stealing, you know, and
embezzlement.
And you're rewarded for your stealing. So that world really, really intrigued me. Although we don't go into that world, we have elements of that world in there. So it was just really just being a part of it in terms of recruitment.
So do you think that you are particularly into storylines with conspiracy, around conspiracy, trust and deception? I mean, you've spoken about Eddie Murphy. Eddie Murphy's gone into family films and is doing The Clumps and The Nutty Professor. I don't necessarily see you as someone who's writing scripts for the whole family. I mean, are you someone who wants to be a gritty writer? What are the genres, or will you do
just
a range?
life. Just life. I think just dealing with people's stories, because everybody has a different story and everybody's story deserves to be told. And it's just really, on this particular project, it's a guy called Duma, you know, and it's about this part of his life. And because if you know, it's volume 2, we start volume 2.
Well, that's what I wanted to...
Sorry, okay, I won't get into that then right now. But it's just dealing with just life, it's life situations, it's not just a money factor. There's also stuff going on with him being a man, you know, and actually growing as a man, and you know, and just seeing things a bit different.
So is that how you see yourself? Is telling people stories, but just creating a different backdrop, so that it's different? Because that's what you spoke about before when you were talking about how you got other actors to be involved with the script. There was something different about it. But is it just a normal story, but you want to create a different backdrop?
I think they're normal stories, but I think the formula in which we chose to tell the story was different in terms of when a bank, for example, he's a fund manager and he's incarcerated, but he's not incarcerated in scrubs.
No.
He's incarcerated in a room smaller than this. You with me? So I think the fact that this guy's been incarcerated and why he's been incarcerated.
What would you say, incarcerated or held hostage?
Kidnapped, held hostage. Yeah, pretty much. Yeah, for real. Yeah. So he's yeah.
Now then, does race play any part? Are you conscious?
Massive part. People are in denial of race.
Okay,
we all are.
Because is this a smokescreen? Because part of me was thinking,
it is.
Is that something that's important to you or not important to you,
because
or is it's kind of interwoven within?
It is, and I don't want to go too much into it, but it's unfortunate that we judge people based on how they look, what postcode they live in, what car they drive, what shoes they have on. We just automatically do it, you know, and that's fine with me. That's not a problem. But when it becomes an issue for me is when people are not able to get jobs, when people are not able to get promotion, when people are not able to be free as a human being. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. So, and this is why I kind of implemented smoke screens, as you said, simply because a lot of the time when these things are thrown into the mix when it comes to race and so forth, there's always a common denominator, and that equals money. It always goes back to the same nonsense, money. So we throw in a lot of the elements of money, we throw in a lot of the elements of race, because I believe it's important for people to be able to identify who they are, because I think a lot of the times when we're doing some things in life, we forget who we are. We can forget our cultural upbringing and so forth. So for me, yeah, that was my stomach. For me,
did that move?
Yeah.
Did that move in his stomach?
Did you hear my stomach? That's fine. We'll keep that too. But yeah, I think race is an important part of life. I think we don't deal with it enough, but we deal with it too much.
Okay, so it's fine trying to find that balance, I suppose. Yeah. Okay, so let's touch on why is this part 2? Why not start with part 1, build up kind of a bit of a momentum, and why have you gone from part 2?
Because it was easy. It was easy to start at step 1. So easy. It's easy to shoot the film at the beginning, but it's difficult to shoot a film midway through. Who does that?
No, for real, who does do that?
That?
Is this not
Tell
a risk?
Me, who does that?
Is this a risk?
Of course it's a risk. It's a huge risk, you know, but I'm not afraid of success or failure. But it was important for me to go straight into it. And also the script is such a big script that part 1 is good, but part 2 is good. You with me? So you're getting into it, and you're not understanding why this guy is where he is, or who this person is, or why. There's so many questions.
I know, because
you know.
No, because I do. I'm interested in.
Can we pause?
There's a whole range of secrets. Again, is that what you're relying on? Is that there's some secrets that need to be discovered or unveiled? And do you want people to want to know? Because I do have questions to the film. Is that what you want your audience to do? Is that there then becomes kind of this hype now that people want to be fed more knowledge?
Do you know what it is? For the secret stuff and the twists and so forth, it's more about what people are willing to do for money.
Okay.
Do you know what I mean? And the sacrifices people will go to for money. Some's for money, some's for power, And ultimately, when you come to the end of it, you realise something you didn't see. And when you see it, it's not even about the relationship, it's more about what they're willing to do for the money and what they're willing to sacrifice. They're willing to sacrifice the relationship, they're willing to sacrifice their safety, and all that type of stuff to get to an end goal. So it's I think it's a lot about relationships with themselves, and with each other. And everybody's bad, nobody really likes each other. If you really
in the workplace, I felt the family was quite strong.
Yeah, the love in terms of what he and somebody else sacrificed to be where they are, and for whatever reason you weren't know until part one, but they did what they had to do for family, straight.
Okay, no, I felt that came through.
But in the same breath, some of it's for money, a lot of it's for money as well.
Ultimately.
Yeah, I think so.
Let's touch on, because remember I touched on visually, it was really attractive to watch. I'm really interested in knowing about some of these locations. I'm interested in now touching on product placement.
Which one? Locations.
Let's start with locations.
Locations was the easy part. Locations are always good to get, but it was important for me to find locations that people who watched the film could identify with in London, outside London, visiting London, whatever it may be. Camden, for example, everybody knows Camden. If you've been to London at some point or another, you've heard about Camden. Whether you've been there or not is a different story. But I love Camden. I think it's an amazing place. I think the Cuban bar where we filmed it.
That's great.
We went there for, I went there for an evening, and I said I had to shoot here, and I got in touch with the manager, Otis, and he allowed me to film there, and it's a beautiful place.
But even just the outside with the cobbled streets,
it's a beautiful place.
Yeah,
it's a beautiful
really
place,
well.
you know. We've got another location in Kensington called the Isa Gallery. Rosa Isa Gallery, which is in Kensington, which is a well-known gallery. And
That's where you were meeting the Russians?
No, Gianluca Vialli, we did his scene around a lot of paintings and so forth. So it was important for me to get that type of...
But even where the hostage was taking place, I mean, just in terms of this white room.
Yeah.
I mean, it looked like an office, massive office space.
It was an office space, and in fact it was one of my acquaintances. They own a fund management. They're bringing in billions of pounds a year. And in fact, I went for another acquaintance, and the gentleman who took me around the building, he turned and said to me, "How did you get this place?" He says, "Who are you?" Going back to your, what was it? You're
unknown.
You're nobody. He goes, "Who are you?"
Yeah.
I'm like, "I'm Aaron Thomas, you know this." He goes, "No, who are you?" It's like, "What do you do?" I'm like, "I'm just a filmmaker." And he goes, "You know, we've had BBC, we've had Warners, we have all of these guys come in and ask to use our buildings, and we've always said no. You're the first and only person to have filmed in any of our buildings."
Well, that's endorsement right there.
There you go. So, and again, it comes down to what I said in terms of people actually believing in the vision. What the film does with the audience is a different story. But in terms of the inception of the project, it's the vision. They believe. I
really feel that, and I feel your passion and your energy coming through. Because obviously we can touch on product placement. Because how are you getting Kurt Geiger, or how are you getting the various kind of labels that you had? How?
Kirk Originals is what I'll do. I'll touch on some of them. Yeah, Kirk Original glasses. I was walking in Covent Garden one day, and I really liked their glasses. It's like, wow, those glasses are really nice, because I wear glasses. And it was important for me to get a pair of those glasses.
Are we talking about consumerism here, or?
It was important for me to get a pair of those glasses for the film.
Okay.
Yeah. Approach Jason Kirk, and he loved what we were doing, or our vision at the time, because we weren't doing anything at the time per se. And it was just really, that simple. If I'm really honest, it's really that simple.
You have quite a range. You have quite a range of various products.
We've got Kirk Originals. We've got Porsche Design. There's a Porsche Design shop on Bond Street. I was walking by one day. I liked what they had in there. I thought it would fit well for our film. Went in there, started speaking to the manager, and he was, one of these people, like, "Hey man," and he's one of those type of guys, James Morris, and he's just energetic, and he loved what I was talking about, and he says, "If you can convince our PR like you've convinced me, you'll get anything you want." think I got a call 3 weeks later. It says come in and take anything you want. And I left there. I think maybe about 15 grand worth of goods.
Wow.
You know, walking out of the store with loads of stuff. We've also got Palzeleri. Palzeleri is really. This is Palzeleri. Palzeleri
Suit.
Palzeleri suits. Is a gentleman's clothes store, and how that came about. This is a really important story. Jodie, remember I told you about Jodie in regards to casting her for a while. She knew I was looking for. I was looking for a brand for us to wear the suits, the guys and the women to wear stuff, and it's not until I think I turned around and I said to her, I'm not having any luck, and she turned around and says to me, we have a family friend that you can speak to. Would you like to do that? I'm like, yeah, cool. So she told me the brand. She says, do you like the stuff? I'm like, yeah. And she arranged for me to meet this guy. And this gentleman, his name is Jeffrey Klaas. And Jeffrey owns Palzeleri. He's in that consortium. He's the main man. And I went to a bar, I think it was in Mayfair, and this guy, I was in there for about maybe 10 minutes because I arrived early, and this guy walked in. I'll never forget, this guy walked in in an amazing suit. It was two guys, it was Jeffrey and a guy called Peter Thomas, and he walked in and he had a suit on, but he didn't tie it. There was no tie. He had the tie sitting. I said,
okay.
Who the fuck comes to a meeting and not tie their tie? You with me?
Someone very confident.
So we sat down there and we talked, and I told him what my vision was, and he says, what do you need? Anyway, forget telling me about the vision. He's very straightforward. What do you need? I says, listen, I need 10, 15 suits. And he looked at me, raised his eyebrow, looked at his acquaintance, Peter Thomas, his business partner, and they just said, okay, get it to us on an email, we'll see what we can do. I think it was about a month and a half later, me and 10 other members of the cast were in Palzeleri in Westfield being measured up for suits. I went there, I had a whole rack of suits and stuff like that, so that was really great. Who else have we got in there? Rushes did some work for us. Rushes is a well-known production, post-production in Soho. I needed some special effects, and they were talking about $8 grand. No.
Were they doing the illustrations? Do you want to touch on?
No.
Okay.
A friend of mine did that, but they did the special effects for the gun going off. Okay. So and again, they believed in the vision. They loved the fact that we made a film with so many brands in there, and that was it. You know, it because I come from a sales background and I believe in what I'm selling. I'm not selling you something I don't believe in. I believe in these actors. I believe in the money I'm spending. Do you understand what I'm saying? It's that simple. I
feel your energy.
Sorry.
No. It's great, because one of my things here is, are you charming in real life? As you come across in the film. And obviously that charm has opened quite a few doors for you and has obviously assisted this process.
I think it's been very instrumental. And I think a lot of luck, being able to be in the right place at the right time, meeting the right people, as I said, and just really believing and selling what you believe in.
So, for instance, I've also got here some of the music. Some of the music's quite old, or some of it's quite new. Mm-hmm. Do you feel there's a responsibility to you to actually introduce new artists or new actors? As much as you have established actors and music playing, is it something for you to bring new talent through?
Absolutely. Okay. For me, I would say 60% of the people, although they have a good resume, they are nodes. You with me? But in terms of the soundtrack, most of the people, I would say your average person would know them. You know, and this is listening to podcasts, listening to Angie B podcasts, and listening to SoundCloud and stuff like that, and just really knowing what I want, because I wanted the some of the classical music, some of the Beethoven and Mozart and so forth, but money. You with me? So I had to
paying for copyright and licensing.
Yeah, all that type of nonsense. So I had to take a step back and say, you know what, I can actually get somebody who's alive, you know, who's actually, from my perspective, better for the project, you know, and they can actually create more. I can actually work with these people, I can grow with these people. So it's actually looking at a long-term plan in regards to the music side of things, actually reaching out to people who are on the same journey as myself, who may be more established, but who want to do different things.
So let me, touching on the introduction to new actors and artists. So for instance, you have Fruit District, you have Troy and Art, the editing company is
It's all. I own everything.
Okay.
We'll keep it simple.
Fruit Juice.
Well, I own everything.
Okay.
Yeah, and that was important for me because we're living in a time where I know you want to touch on distribution. I own everything.
Okay.
Yeah, and that was important for me because we're living in a time where I know you want to touch on distribution, but I'll just say something really quickly. We're living in a time where you can create a product and distribute it yourself, or you can go to a bigger organization, call it what you want, and they will take that, all your hard work and everybody's hard work, and take 60-70% of it. That doesn't make sense to me. That's greedy.
So you're moving with this new technological world in terms of your own marketing.
Of course, it's slow organic growth, but I'm not really down with spending all this money and then just giving it away. You know, some of these companies they offer you a certain amount of money. I won't go into figures. They offer you a certain amount of money, but they want the rights for 2-3 years. So they want to burn out your rights for 2-3 years and then give it back to you. You know, when they've ridden it out, they've fully ridden it out, and I'm not saying it's no good to you, but in the same breath, you wanna ride that wave
as well.
You wanna ride the wave.
Reap those benefits.
You wanna reap those benefits, and it's not just about me; it's about the team, and in terms of where we take our work and where we decide our work should be. And I don't believe that you should be the one to decide our fate when we've done all the hard work.
I mean, before we move on to next steps, what I would still like to touch on is the illustrations within the film. There's very few films, for instance, that are out there that have some illustrations incorporated, unless I'm thinking of a Disney film. So what was the concept for you in terms of having, because I thought they added a particular appeal or dramatics almost. So where did that concept come from? Was that your concept to have some stuff illustrated, and who did the illustrations?
Unfortunately, it was my idea.
It's a great thing.
But it's a guy called Michael Getteris. I'm pronouncing his name. I'm so bad at pronunciations, but he is an amazing animator. And it took us. Do you know what? It took us 1.5 years to do that stuff.
Wow.
Yeah, it took us 1.5 years, and I told him what I wanted. Okay, and again, it comes down to what I said earlier on in regards to this is what I want. This is what I want to see.
Now do you.
Now do your thing. You with me? I'm not one of these people that, well, you've got to do no, but
no, because that's your specialism. I expect you to make that magic happen.
And he would send me something maybe every 3 months, every 4 months. I think there was a time where I actually forgot about it, and when it was done, wow, I love it. I love it personally, and the reason I incorporated that is simply because I love animation.
Okay.
You know, I'd like to one day make an animated film, like for adults, you know, and yeah, it made sense to kind of explore that area and see whether I could pull it off. And
well, I think
in terms of organising, I pulled it off. In terms of the artwork, what he did is just like, wow,
phenomenal.
It's really, really good. I'm just like, wow.
So Erin, you need to now be telling us about the premiere, because obviously I've seen it, the public haven't seen it. When is the premiere? Talk to us about distribution. Talk to us about how the public are now going to see your blood, sweat and tears.
Okay, right. In terms of distribution, before I go into that, let me go into why I've chosen this idea.
Okay.
For the last 2-3 years, I've been networking with a lot of people. I'm speaking to a lot of people in terms of distributors, from, this is no joke, from Asia straight back to London, everywhere. Film's done, sending it to all these people that I've spoken to and met, and the response I got was good in regards to the film and how they felt about the film. Got a lot of rejections. I would say we got more, maybe 60% rejections, 40% people saying like, yo, this is nice. 20% people wanted to buy it, to acquire it.
But this is global, you're talking?
This is global, yeah. And it was great. You know, we even sent it to a couple of film festivals. And I did this whole thing of following the template for the last year, following this template. And as time is going on, I feel myself being drained, you know, because for some reason, at some point I'm waiting for phone calls or an email. And I'm not saying I'm too big or I'm too prideful or any of those things, but it's not how we work. We don't wait for people to get back to us, we just get on with it, you know. And I was somewhat a little bit depressed as well, because I'm like, only 20% wanted to buy my film. Do you know what I mean? And you know, this whole ego thing starts to play, and the film festival stuff, and it wasn't me. It wasn't me, you know. I recruited most of the cast through online. You know, we did Skype auditions online. We did all this stuff online. We did. I mean,
the impression I've got is that you don't conform anyway.
I wouldn't say it's conform. It's just I don't like waiting on people. Okay. I don't like the fact that I'm going to go back and repeat the same thing. We, you know, the team of 40, 50 people have created this. I haven't done this by myself. We have created this together, and because you like it, you want to purchase it and show it at 4 o'clock in the morning. I didn't make a film to be shown at 3, 4 o'clock in the morning, and I had 2 major broadcasters come back to me and says, "Yeah, we like what you've done. We'll take it. We'll show."
Okay, I mean, I know that I'm not one of these people, but I would have thought your film, because again, I'm not even sure what rating you're going to give it. I don't know, it'd be like a 15 or something. So, but it didn't seem offensive. I mean, like I said, it's a bit of a thriller.
No, it's taking the piss.
But I would have thought 9, 10 o'clock.
It's taking the piss. It's taking the piss. I didn't make a film to be shown at that time in the morning, because everybody I know is in bed. I'm in bed. Do you know what I'm saying?
You're coming in from a night.
It's taking the piss. It's taking the piss, because we haven't discussed a different type of time. You're telling me in which the time it should be shown.
Okay.
You with me? And if the film was a film with a guy called
Harrison Ford.
No, if it was a film with a guy called Jenna Gina and Long Jimmy Jones, and
I think
and
that's
it had
a different
music.
channel.
Yeah, and it had that dun, 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 dun. You with me? If it had that type of feel and it was that type of movie, yeah, it makes sense. But it just didn't make sense to me. So what I decided to do was scrap that whole template of following that trend of doing the film festivals, of doing the broadcasters, of doing the premiering the movies and stuff like that. It just wasn't us. It's not what we created. So what we're gonna do between the 27th of December and the 3rd of January, the film will be free.
So between December 2013 and January 2014.
Yeah, but yeah, those days.
You will be distributing, or
anybody can watch it around the world.
Okay.
Simply because
they can download it.
No. You can stream it. You can stream it. We just want to share what we've done, and this is the bottom line. We've got Judith Jacobs, Gianluca Vialli, Lee John, Will Johnson, Jodie Perry, Graham Benson, Simon Britton, Kerry Gale. We've got all these great actors. We've got an amazing soundtrack. We've got visually looks beautiful. We've spent over $100 grand. Yeah, who does that and gives it away for free?
So you're not going to have a premiere?
Hell no.
Okay.
No. There's not. Again, we need to. We started off in a certain way. We're going to continue in our way because it's worked for us. So it's very rare that people make a feature film and just for the public to watch. And I'll tell you, the end game is simply because next year, I shouldn't really announce it, but I'll just announce it. Next year, the 20th of December, we're launching our own platform, our own distribution platform where you can watch TV series, you can watch independent films and so forth, and it's fully interactive. I don't want to go too much into it, but it's going to be fully interactive, called The District, and we're just doing our own thing.
I mean, I don't doubt your philosophy or how you do it. I mean, I believe Shawshank Redemption was primarily watched on DVD or on video at the time.
Wow.
It wasn't,
Okay, cool.
I don't believe it came out in the cinemas and kind of took off. I think it was because the public, it's about public demand, and that's how I feel that you're relying more on the public demand rather than on the distributors to make this happen.
Yeah, because ultimately, think about it, you've made something and you pay somebody to tell people about it. That's what we're doing. We're paying this person to tell people, when in actual fact we can tell them ourselves. And it's the people.
It's finding the
decide.
right medium to get
It's the people who decide. And that's what I've learned, is that it's for the people to decide whether the film's good or bad or whatever it may be. Let the people decide.
So will part 1 be completed?
The people have to decide.
Okay.
If you don't see a part 1, the people have decided. If you do see a part 1, the people, you know.
So what's next in the pipe? What other projects are you working on?
What other project am I not working on? That's more the question. No, seriously, we're doing, the next project is called This Paper World. It's a novel by a gentleman by the name of Jeff Lane. And it's, if you go to www.jefflaneonline.com, you'll find a bit more about the project itself. And it follows the life of a young college student by the name of Jim Hunt, who in his first year of college, he learns he's more than he actually is in regards to his abilities to do certain things. And he just wants to be a student, but he's forced to become either a champion or a spoiler. And a champion or a spoiler are two different beings. The champions are good and the spoilers are evil. And they've been at war for hundreds of years, I believe.
So this is sci-fi?
It's not a sci-fi. It's actually, it's not a sci-fi. It's good people versus bad people.
Okay.
It's really,
and
the difference is that they have heightened abilities. They don't fly like Superman or.
That's more in tune with their strengths.
So they're more spiritual and they do things that your ordinary citizen can do. So we're shooting that, and this is the first of 3 books.
Okay.
It's a novel. It's a really successful novel. It's had over 300,000 downloads.
Wow.
Audiobooks. We've got an app coming out on Christmas Day.
Wow.
For the movie, and the app itself is about gaming. It's a cross between gaming and film. Again, you've never seen an app of this magnitude. So it's just really doing things that are quite different in regards to filmmaking. So we've got This Paper World coming out, City Hall, which is a political drama about the first black female deputy mayor in London and her journey in going through politics.
Wow.
We've also got The Community, which is about a group of unlikely neighbours that come together in a catastrophic situation, if I've pronounced that right. And there was one more, 24 Hours Away, which is a feature film. It's about a pop star, and it starts off with her when she's actually about 60, and she tells her life over the last 20, 30. Obviously, we've got the platform, the interactive platform that's being launched the 20th of December
2013? 14?
2014, and it will release these projects, to the public. And again, I can't speak too much on it about how we're going to go about doing it and what it's going to be about, but I will say it's going to be something that gives people the opportunity to have a bit more choice in regards to what they watch.
I think it'd be good for you to get out to China, because they have China, Korea, they have thousands of channels, and that's
I love
the
Korean
base
films.
that they're
Korean
kind of
films.
working on.
Korea, if I had to get out to anywhere right now in terms of Asia, it'd definitely be Korea. Korean films have been a huge piece of entertainment in regards to what I watch right now. All my films, whether it be Korean, French, Italian, and all these other types of overseas films, and I think in terms of here in London, we're missing out a lot in terms of storytelling. We've seen the same stories recycled. There's nothing wrong with that if you're into that. But I personally like a diverse.
There's a bit of difference.
A bit of difference, and I think a lot more stories from different cultures, different voices, you know, is really important. Young and old, and I think this is what we're missing a lot here. And I think what we're doing as a company, as a business, is really just we're running our own race. We're not in competition with anybody. We're just doing our own thing where we just want to tell stories. That simple.
And I think that's something quite unique about you, as you said, you're running your own race. Yeah. Because if not, I suppose you can get caught up in the industry. So one of my final questions really is, how do people contact you? I mean, I'm assuming you're open for scripts or open for people.
I'm not. I'm so unobtainable. I'll call you. No.
Well, I'm thinking if people are interested in acting in any of your films,
no, for real.
Or finding out
collaborations. We need more writers.
Camera operators.
Everybody. We need everything.
So how do people get hold of you?
Through the website. That's
the
first point of call, which is Fruit District, FruitDistrict.
Can we do that again?
Fruit District.
From the top spell.
Okay, go again.
So can you let me know how people can get hold of you in terms of script, acting, editing, opportunities?
Just email me directly.
And what email is that?
AARONTHO@hotmail.com. AARONTHO@hotmail.com.
So Aaron Thomas at
AaronTHO@hotmail.com.
Okay.
We're on Facebook as Fruit District Group. We're on Twitter. Just Google Fruit District Group. You can see what we're going on.
Okay.
And we're always looking for people who more than anything are passionate about filmmaking, about telling stories. People who just want to make film, who want to make TV series, and no complications. Just want to get on with it. Just get on with it and just do something beautiful.
Do you have any recommendations?
In terms of actors, I would say every actor in this film is a lead actor. And just look out for them. There's too many names to mention. Too many names. But I will say Graham Benson, Jodie Perry, Kerry Gale, Omri Rose. There's too many people to mention. Those guys are really doing really hot stuff that I really enjoy their work. And what you've got to remember is that most of these people that I'm working with, I'm fans. I'm a fan. First and foremost, I'm their fan. So just look out for the film and read the credits. If you love what you see, enjoy what you see, look at the credits and work with these people, because they are great people to work with.
Well, Erin, I have to say it's been really enjoyable.
It has been.
Talking to you. No, I'm really inspired by your work and the journey that you've obviously gone on. I wish you loads of success. It's a great film. Seriously, visually it's very, very, very attractive and quite a deep storyline. All I can say is I wish you the best of luck, and I can't wait to be involved or support anything, other projects that you're doing.
Can I thank you? Can I thank you for allowing us to be here today at WAC? WAC, can I just mention WAC?
Please do.
WAC is an organisation based in Belsize Park. They're a media and
Performing Arts
College, and they have inspired me. I will say this. I'm not going to waffle on, but they are an amazing organisation that has personally inspired and changed my life in terms of working with the young people here. I'll just mention one, Sean Harnett, because he's here today, who inspires me, and what he's doing. He's got great things going on, and just generally do you remember Fame? We all obviously remember Fame. If you love Fame, you'll love WAC, because it embodies everything to do with gifted people, and if you've got children, they should join, and it's an amazing place. So thank you very much for allowing us to be here.
No problem at all. Thank you.
God bless you.
You too.